Okay. Welcome to What's Niggling Me. I don't know if I'm in that camera shot. Let's see real quick. Probably. Okay. Today we're going to try out this episode. I'm going to put a little disclaimer at the beginning. That just trying to elaborate on a theory out there, not making any definitive claims. I'm just gonna produce facts, and anyone can speculate in the end, I suppose. There was a mainstream news narrative and I didn't believe it. Not too many people talk about it. It's weird because of the magnitude of the event. So I got some stuff up, and then I'm gonna research in real time and pull up some stuff, and I think it's the best theory of them all because it doesn't make any sense. The mainstream lie, in my opinion. Because I just want the full truth. And like a Lee Harvey Oswald, the Thomas Crooks. He's got 3 names. I forget what they always got 3 names. But if you still believe JFK was killed by Lee Harvey Oswald, the lone shooter theory, then this is probably not for you. Like a USS Liberty, like a 9/11, Gulf of Tonkin, there's a lot that the true story or the full story is not mainstream news. So I'm going to try here to cover something that interests me, because when we don't get a full story, when it's just the story's just given up on, nobody has any answers, I can't help myself. So the biggest mass shooting ever in the United States never gets talked about. So let's talk about it. I've heard interviews, and I swear there's one out there that I can't find. And I for sure have screenshots of timestamps on it. But it's been a long time since I listened to it, and I don't know. I want to say possibly the interview's cut, or I feel like it was on a Patrick Bet-David one with Dan Blazarian. I think. I just feel like it was cut from somebody's episode. And I know people probably don't like that guy. I don't really care for that guy. Never really cared for that guy, and like that guy was around when there was like fucking Chive or whatever. The internet was a way different place, and I never really get him and Mayweather at the same time were just like flopping suitcase or briefcases open with cash and buying watches galore. Just a bad influence on society. So it just was not really interested, and I like rap. And I know that's obviously not a good influence on society. So it happened during Jason Aldean performing October 1st, but technically I'm very sure, but I'm not going to go 100%, but I'm very sure that Jason Aldean was performing after midnight. So technically it was October 2nd, I believe, 2017. And the mainstream story is that Stephen Paddock, I think he was 64 years old, a millionaire, but had no online presence, and this is the mainstream, had no online presence. That this millionaire had a girlfriend, and he killed 60 people, I believe it was. I think it was 58 at the time, but I'm pretty sure it was 60, injuring 100 and something. Now, I believe people died. I believe those people died. I don't believe there was crisis actors. People died. I don't believe there's crisis actors. I believe the event happened. I just don't believe the story of what happened and that Stephen Paddock was a lone shooter, if a shooter at all. I'll try to do my best to show why I have this hypothesis that there was an attempted coup on Mohammed bin Salman to kill him. And I think Mohammed bin Salman figured it out beforehand. That probably sounds insane. If you look at Wikipedia's Las Vegas conspiracies, all the way at the bottom, it has a brief mention of kind of what I was talking about, but let me elaborate. Stephen Paddock apparently did this from the 32nd floor. Eight years later, not 7 and a bit, we don't have any video of him shooting that I can find. Even though there was a concert with thousands of people with phones, there's no video of him shooting. He apparently did this from the 32nd floor of the Mandalay building. Now, Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, a member of the Saudi royal family, owns the top 5 floors of the Mandalay building. He owns the floors that are just 3 levels up from where Stephen Paddock apparently unloaded tons of guns, tons of different guns. And now a mainstream conspiracy was this was I don't know if false flag is the right word, but possibly the right word, to try and get bump stocks banned. It was like a gun thing, like this happened. Columbine. I remember after Columbine, there's that one guy, he's real annoying, and there was the big anti-guns thing, but like, this is gonna side note me. this is a common phrase, guns aren't the problem, people are the problem. And it's the fucking truth. Because schools had gun clubs. High school had gun clubs. So high schoolers were shooting guns at a point. But then in 1989, Prozac became available. Now, I don't know if that's the reason, but there was no school shootings going on. There was gun clubs before then. Okay, back to this. So, I don't believe that it was, they just wanted to get, like Alex Jones spouted that shit, that they just want to take your guns, they want to take your guns. Way bigger than that. So, what's pretty funny is since 2007, Bill Gates and Prince Al-Walid bin Talal have been the majority owners of the Four Seasons and Resorts, which operates the top floors of the Mandalay. Now, this is funny. There have been speculations and theories linking Prince Al-Walid bin Talal to the 2017 Las Vegas shooting, suggesting a possible involvement or connection, although no concrete evidence has been provided to support these claims. Well, let me try to prevent some evidence. I finally figured out, on another side note, that I've been trying to copy with Control-C and Control-V to paste, and I've been pressing this fucking button, this FN button next to Control. I don't know if it's French or whatever the fuck that is, but I've been pressing the wrong button and not pressing Control. Well, why are we doing that twice? So this guy right here, he had a fascinating interview with Tucker Carlson months ago. Fascinating. This guy is rich. Rich. This guy owns so much. I believe I went over in a previous episode about, let's get this on dark. You know what's funny? Syracuse University. This guy, a Saud family member, went to Syracuse University, okay? He, right here, I know I went over this guy. Founder, CEO, and 95% owner of the Kingdom Holding Company, Saudi conglomerate company. November 2017, Forbes listed him as the 7th richest man in the world with 39.8 billion, okay? Right here. November 4th, 1 month and 2 days after the Las Vegas shooting. Al-Walid and other prominent Saudis, including fellow billionaires Walid bin Ibrahim, and this other guy too, were arrested in Saudi Arabia as part of Mohammed bin Salman's purge to centralize power in Saudi Arabia. Okay? That's weird, right? A month after the shooting happened at this guy's 3 floors under the floors he owns at the Mandalay Hotel, he was arrested. And then he was released in January following a financial settlement of some kind after nearly 3 months in detention. Now, this Saudi purge, is there a link for it? Because they arrested like 500 fucking people. This was a big fucking deal. Where's the Saudi purge? Right here. Oh, doesn't want to give me that, eh? We're gonna get it. No, spelled it wrong. The Saudi purge. Right after, I believe, and it's hard to find, that Mohammed bin Salman figured out, he was apparently there. He was apparently at the Four Seasons when that happened. When Stephen Paddock killed 60 people. The Saudi Purge happened 1 month and 2 days after. This right here from The Guardian says nearly 400 Saudi Arabia's most powerful people, among them princes, tycoons, and ministers, were rounded up and detained in the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. There's one guy that's still in detention. Him and his family are not allowed to leave. But that's not the worst. Because I'm very sure, not 100% confirmed, but very sure one of them was taken care of. Okay, I think I know how to find the guy. Nuts though, right? Mass arrest. This one says 381 individuals. Purge was led by Mohammed bin Salman. I like living, by the way. According to official statements, the Saudi government recovered approximately $106 billion in assets from those involved in the purge. Detainees were reportedly subjected to coercive tactics, including beatings and intimidation, to extract confessions and assets. Got some good blackmail on, what's his name? Prince Al Walid bin Talal. I'm sure they got some good blackmail and let him go. Since the initial purge, there have been additional rounds of arrests, such as the one reported in August 2021, where over 200 individuals were arrested on corruption charges. Remember, these are a great ally in the world. These actions, so complaining about fucking Trump. Look what this guy does with his fucking government. These actions continue to shape the political landscape in Saudi Arabia and influence its relationships with international. No, it doesn't. Melanie Joy fucking shakes the hands of the fucking Saudis. That fucking loser that works for our Canadian government, Melanie Joy. I watched her fucking talking about these great Saudi trade partners. Money fucking over morals and ethics. Alright, how am I finding this guy? No offense, I just have a hard time spelling these guys' names. This guy's last name starts with an N. It's like Nafjet or something. How do I find this? Who preceded MBS? Right here. Mohammed bin Nayef. Okay? Let's go look at him. This is was the rightful holder of Mohammed bin Salman's position. This guy became the crown prince, and then it was taken from him 3 months later by Mohammed bin Salman. And someone, it could have been him. They've arrested so many, right? I believe there was a massive coup by a lot of those people Mohammed bin Salman was rounding up, because this guy was supposed to be the crown prince. And then the king appointed his son. And if you ever see any interviews with the king of Saudi Arabia, he might be worse than Biden. He's cognitively not there at all. So Mohammed bin Salman runs shit in Saudi Arabia. And he runs, I wouldn't say progressive, but a definitely progressive compared to Sharia standards in Saudi Arabia. And I think the older guard don't like that. So this guy was supposed to be the guy. Now this guy is in detention, I'm very sure, right? Assassination attempts, he escaped 4 of them. I see an Al-Qaeda one in there. Oh, what's this? The explosive device was hidden inside Al-Asiri's rectum and anal cavity, which security experts described as a novel technique. Damn. They're never gonna tell us that on the news, right? Crazy. That's fucking wild. Fun facts. Was first one since 2003, 2015. It says he got one because my guess is he was becoming the guy. Line of succession. I'm going. Ousted as crown prince. Detained and threatened for hours. Pressured. Gave a televised pledge of loyalty, reportedly at gunpoint. He was placed on house arrest in his place in Judea. He was stripped of much of his wealth, with confiscations estimated at least $4.75 billion. Bank accounts were blocked in late fall 2017. A letter was sent to HSBC in Geneva asking for the bank transfer of his account. They didn't do it. Similar requests have been requested on his behalf in 2021. Following his removal, his wife and daughters are forbidden from leaving Saudi Arabia. House arrest was loosened in 2017, but then was loosened in 2017, not permitted to leave the kingdom. 2018 and 19, MBS consolidated his power. 2020, he was arrested at a private desert retreat. Charged treason and accused of conspiring against MBS. They probably figured out the Las Vegas shooting, and our media just doesn't tell us. Held in solitary confinement for 6 months and tortured. Private discussions with Saudi authorities the U.S. under both Trump and Biden administrations has urged the release without success. So this guy's been in fucking detention for that long. He's right here with Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State. Evil fucking human being. Okay. Then we have a legit victim that I believe, like Epstein, they say Epstein was just good at taxes. That's why Bill Gates and everybody wanted to work with him and be buddies with Epstein. But he was also a lot more than that. Jamal Khashoggi I don't mean to slander the guy's name, but I think he died in Istanbul, Turkey at the Saudi Arabian consulate because he was part of the purge. I believe he was part of the purge. If you see right here, Jamal Khashoggi was killed exactly 1 year to the day of the Las Vegas shooting. They chopped him up in the Saudi consulate. Time magazine gave him person of the year 2 months after he was chopped up. So this guy's fascinated me. This guy fascinates me. And I'm going to show you a few other people in his family that I believe have the same cause of death. But it probably doesn't say that as their reason of death. So he was born in Medina, Saudi Arabia, Jamal Ahmad Hamza Khashoggi, but he was assassinated. I'm sure not too many people have assassinated as their death. Jeez, this guy's got a Wikipedia on him. We're not going to go that far. Let me tell you that you can watch The Dissident. What is that back there? Now supports Bitcoin. I like that. The Dissident. You can learn. It did like 100,000 at the box office because nobody wanted to fucking touch it because of how dangerous the Saudi family is. But this guy is an incredible film director, Brian Fogel. He did the Russian doping documentary that blew the whole lid on the Russian. This guy is the reason that the Russians aren't allowed to compete in anything. This guy's the reason, because the world is crazy how things work, and he stumbled upon the most comprehensive doping system since the East Germans. State-sponsored doping for the Russians. Incredible. This guy stumbled upon it, did a documentary on it. It was incredible. Then he goes and does The Dissident about the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi, and you can learn about it. It's incredible. 7.8. It's pretty good, especially for, I'm sure was a backlash. Assassinated. They chopped this motherfucker up. Now, where do we go? Let's go to, this is lighter. Kinda. Dodi, his cousin, Dodi Fayed. You see this guy? He was probably really happy, because it says right here, he was romantically involved with Princess Diana. And they both died in the car crash. In my personal opinion, I think he was killed because the royal fucking family are racist and they didn't want this guy right here. They didn't want a brown guy having a kid with Princess Diana. That's, in my opinion, what happened. Is they had to get rid of them. They were a bad look on the British royal family, which really doesn't have much British roots. They got a lot more German in them. They got more Eastern European in them. And they're inbred. So that's Dodi Fayed. In my opinion, murdered. They blamed it on paparazzi. Then we got his uncle. Probably more fascinating than Jamal Khashoggi. Adnan was a Saudi businessman and arms dealer. Extensive geopolitical influence. The Great Gatsby of the Middle East, they called him. In the 80s, net worth estimated at $4 billion. Intermediary between Western defense companies and the Saudi government. Imagine that. Trump bought this guy's boat that this guy used to blackmail people on. What did they get for his death? Oh yeah, he died old with Parkinson's. I remember reading. This guy died old. Didn't get touched, kind of like Meyer Lansky. I guess that's what happens when you do this. Intermediary between Western defense companies and Saudi government. Meyer Lansky, intermediary between the United States and Israel. And the mob. He got to die old in Florida at Adnan Khashoggi, 81. How old was Meyer Lansky when he died? American Gangster. It's funny that it puts that. See Meyer Lansky's real last name? Known as the mob's accountant. He died at... Updated 2 days ago is so weird. Who's on these doing that? 80 years old. Meyer Lansky? What do they call him as? What are they? A member of the Jewish mob. Developed a gambling empire that stretched around the world. Incredible human. Probably should do a podcast on him. Adnan. Both of them got to live to old. Born in Mecca. That's the family this guy comes from. Who was a journalist, they say. Just a journalist. Like Epstein was just a tax consultant. For Leon Black. For like 100 plus million, we'll call it, so I don't get it wrong. I'm guessing 140. 145. So, this guy slaughtered 1 year after. This guy who owns the floors right above where Stephen Paddock apparently murdered people was arrested 1 month after this event. And hundreds of other people. Why did Mohammed bin Salman go on such a rampage a month after this event? Arresting, beating, having people beat, confessing, pledging allegiance to him. Sounds a lot like a coup was possibly done, and he was like, "Fuck this, time to clean house." Kind of like Saddam Hussein did before. He had a purge. Let's look at some more. This guy, John Pelche, former Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department captain, who is currently the chief of Maui Police Department. He was the captain of the police department during the Las Vegas shooting. And then he was the police chief for the Maui wildfires. And then he was named as a defendant in a lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs, where he is accused of helping to cover up a sexual assault and kidnapping 2 witnesses in 2018. He denies it, said he's provided documentation, financial statements, and text messages to prove he was in Las Vegas on the date and could not have been in California. At the bottom it says here, the lawsuit filed by Ashley Parnham and 2 anonymous plaintiffs also claims that Pelche and others directly committed violations of aiding, abetting, and inducing the sex trafficking venture in the sex trafficking of plaintiffs. Just saying. Just throwing that one out there. What else do I got? I got these videos of the descriptions of the event. There was another one I listened to, and I can't remember what podcast it was on. The guy said he was drinking or whatever at the time, but like he was running like crazy. Let me see here. Okay, this though. According to an image posted on Facebook by a man who claims he served Stephen Paddock, room service. Paddock was with a guest during his stay at the Mandalay Hotel 4 days before the shooting occurred. The receipt shows that Paddock ordered food for 2 guests, indicating that there was another person with him in the room. However, it is noted that this guest could not have been his girlfriend, Marilu Danley, as she was in the Philippines at the time. No other guests are mentioned in the available information regarding Paddock's room during the period leading up to the shooting. Now, let me pop this up while I remember. What's that movie, or what's that show called? Search the Key, Condor. I don't want to forget. Okay. That is it. Now, Stephen Paddock. Let me go back. Where are you? I saw a video of him bringing luggage in a bunch. I heard, I don't even know how we searched that. I heard that this girl was a prostitute. Now, was she a honeypot? Let's fucking check it out. Stephen Paddock honey potted. What do you got? There's no credible evidence no indication that he was recruited or manipulated by a third party to carry out the Las Vegas shooting. I want to say he possibly. This is my only nobody's following up on this whole thing. Nobody fucking knows why. No police, no FBI, nobody fucking knows why this guy did this. They say it doesn't, you got all these fucking experts that study mass shootings and stuff, they say they want to the Columbine guys are a perfect fucking example. These kids wanted to go down in history, and they kind of have, but they wanted to. These guys were fucking nuts. They plotted this shit for a long time. The Columbine fucking shooters plotted this shit for a long time. They built a video game fucking level on Doom, I believe. Like, they had blueprints. They went into the woods and filmed cameras. They talked about it on camera, like, because they had fucking camcorders back then. Stephen Paddock didn't do any of that. Nobody knows why. Nobody had any encounters, no family, no people at the hotels. Nobody had any encounters that they thought this guy had a screw loose. Nobody. It's funny that they used this fucking picture. They used the shittiest picture they could find of him, right? And I'm not making an excuse for this guy. I just don't believe this guy did it. I believe they killed him and used him as a fucking patsy. Right here, yeah. The FBI concluded there was no single or clear motivating factor for the attack. Paddock did not leave behind a manifesto suicide note that would suggest external influence. Instead, the report indicated that Paddock wanted to die in infamy, possibly inspired by his father's reputation as a bank robber, but there is no evidence linking his actions to being... The guy, this fucking guy, Stephen Paddock, worked for the fucking IRS. Worked for the IRS at one point. This guy was a millionaire. There's no evidence linking his actions to being unpunished. So that's the storyline that they're putting here. He wanted to be like his dad, like the bank robber's dad, after he became a legit millionaire. He didn't steal it. See? Savvy businessman. Look at this New York Times. 2 days after, the man who police say killed dozens of people, and then himself. They say like he wanted to get away, like he was prepared to go. This story is not believable at all. Okay. But a woman was, right? And where's she? We don't know anything about it. We don't know anything about a woman that, a guest. They obviously have fucking video cameras and video of her. What was her testimony and stuff, right? Stephen Paddock's hotel guest. No, it's not the person I'm looking for. This is a person next door. Like a guest, like the door next door, apparently. Still not making any sense. What time did the Las Vegas shooting happen? $10 p.m. they're saying. Okay, let's listen to Dan Blazerian or Jason Aldean. Let's do Jason Aldean. I don't know this guy at all. Don't know him at all. I'm not a country guy. My brother likes that stuff. but it was
You were
this was
performing
interesting.
in Las Vegas during the biggest mass shooting in American history, and I didn't know until today when we were talking off air. First of all, like how, I mean, your bus got shot up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I don't know, somehow.
Yeah, there's a lot of details about that stuff that, there's probably details about that a lot of people don't know. But yeah, it was a wild night, man.
He's
My
not
wife was 8 months pregnant with our son, who was in her early.
Yeah.
Doesn't think like I do.
And it was a scary time, man.
He just doesn't know.
Went out to play a show like I always do, and you expect to go out there for an hour and a half, 2 hours, get done, come back, hang out with your guys, and
I assume he
get
doesn't
on
want
the
to
plane or
relive
bus or whatever it is and go home. And
That's the take.
that night was just a different story, and it was just a weird deal. Something that a lot of the guys in my camp, my crew and stuff, I mean, it kind of messed a lot of people up for a while, just kind of going through that stuff. And a lot of the guys that are with me have been with me for 15 years, plus some of them been with me for 19 years. And so, it was tough, man. It was a tough thing to go through. And I was telling you, like before, the toughest part was going through all that, and then you get home and you're watching the news trying to figure out, all right, well, why did this guy do this? Like, what was his reasoning, and why this show? And you never really got any answers on any of that stuff, and still to this day, like, we don't really know much about it. I just, you go and see the aftermath after it happened. There's bullet holes in the front of my bus and in the side. My band bus, the windows got shot out of the band bus.
9 months ago.
My bass player, who was on stage to me, one of my best friends in the world for the last 25 years, was standing next to me, had a bullet lodged in the bass he was playing at the time. So bullet hits the bass he's got on at the time playing. And so, yeah, I mean, there was some close calls for that stuff.
Wow.
And a lot of stuff that, I've never really gone way into detail about a lot of it, but
I remember hearing this.
I just don't. I attempted to get to the bottom of that over a couple of month period. I got pretty fixated on it. I made no headway at all.
Yeah.
But I wasn't there. I mean, it wasn't my show that got shot up in the biggest mass shooting in American history. Hundreds and hundreds of people shot.
Yeah. It was wild, man. And I went. I remember after that, it was like a couple days later, we got home and we were still kind of shell shocked from all of it. And Lauren Michaels had called me and wanted us to come do Saturday Night Live. And I was like, man, I don't know. Like, it's like, we had shows scheduled that weekend that we went ahead and canceled. It was like, man, none of us wanted to play, so let's just take a weekend. Let's try and get it together. All of our gear was still sitting on the stage in Vegas, so we couldn't even play a show if we wanted to.
I mean, literally on the stage?
I mean, I took my guitar off, laid it on stage that night of the shooting, and it stayed right there in that spot for 2 weeks while the FBI went out and, did the crime scene and all that stuff. So we didn't have guitars to play. And Lauren Michaels called us and wanted us to come do Saturday Night Live, do a cold opening and all this stuff. And I said, man, listen, I got some stuff to say. If you'll let me do, I don't want you guys writing stuff for me to talk about or say or whatever. Let me write it and say what I want to say. And Tom Petty had died. We were flying home the next day. Tom Petty, we got the news he had died on the flight home. And so I was like, man, just a crappy week. I was a big Tom Petty fan. And so I was like, man, if you'll just let me say what we want to say and kind of play a song for Petty and just like tie all this stuff in, like it's just been a rough week, And so Lauren told me that was fine. I could do what I wanted. And so we went up there and called all the guys, got everybody rallied up and went up there and played a show. And I'll say this, I mean, that crew and everybody that was on that show was really, really cool to us that day and like very welcoming and stuff, which was really needed, I think, for us at the time. So they helped us a lot to kind of get over that hurdle a little bit to get back and start playing and know that, we had to pick up and keep moving. We had a tour to finish. We had another like 4 to 6 weeks left of the tour to go out and finish after that happened, which was tough. So we did that and then came home and just kind of shut everything down for about 6-7 months and went underground pretty good for a while. And later, my son was born during that time, so I got to come home. He was born, which kind of helped take my mind off of it and stuff. So it was a wild time.
How many interviews did you have with the FBI?
I didn't have any.
You didn't have any?
That I remember. I don't think I had any.
But you were.
I didn't. But I didn't. I mean, no, I didn't know much. I might have talked to him one time. I mean, I was on stage. I thought we had a blown speaker. No clue what was going on. And so it wasn't until I got off stage and took my, we wear ear monitors. And so I can't really hear anything except my band. And so I just heard something sound like it was cracking, but it was the gun going off. It just didn't, it was coming through the microphones and it just sounded weird. But I didn't know what it was. And so we got off stage and I took those out and I heard him shoot again. And that's when I knew what was going on. I had no idea until I got off stage.
So he shot for almost 25 minutes, as I remember correctly.
It was a long time. It felt like an hour. So I don't know how long it actually was, but it felt like a long time.
Where were you during that?
So I came off side stage, and like I said, my wife was 8 months pregnant. So the first thing I get over there, yeah, she was talking to some friends, like up, kind of actually closer to Mandalay where he was at, and I just came off, and when I took my headphones out, I was like, first thing I said was, where's Britt? And one of my guys goes, I'm going to get her. And he went down the thing, and as he was going down the steps to go get her, she was coming up. So he got her, brought her over there to where I was at, and we just kind of hunkered down for a while. And I kept noticing the guy would shoot, and then he'd, there'd be like a little break where I guess he was going to a different window or whatever he was doing. And so I just told her, I said, the next time he stops like that, get up and start moving. We're going to the bus. And so she got up and started heading to the bus. And we got about halfway there, and he started shooting again. And she kind of froze up, and I grabbed her, took her to the bus, got in the back of the bus, and just kind of hunkered down back there. And but even while we were on there, I mean, the front of my bus took, 3 or 4 rounds. The side took 3 or 4 rounds or whatever it was. So, I mean, it was crazy.
The reason I asked about the FBI is that you may not have special knowledge, but it was your show. You opened fire on your show, the Jason Aldean show. So you're kind of, by definition, a central part of the story.
Yeah. I mean, but I don't, and I could have it wrong. I mean, I was a little bit in a daze back then when all that stuff was going on. Yeah. I don't recall them talking to me that I remember. But I also remembered going, like, I don't really have anything to tell you. It just sounded weird. And then they were shooting, and I was just trying to get my pregnant wife somewhere and get her safe. Like, I had no idea where the guy was at. We thought he was on the ground backstage. So we thought he was, just backstage walking around mowing people down. That's what I thought. That's why I was like, get up, let's get on the bus and at least, get locked in there and I got some stuff on the bus that will, like, at least, even somewhat of an even playing field, because, I mean, we just didn't know what was happening. I didn't know the guy was having 60 stories up or whatever in a hotel. We had no idea.
32 apparently.
So, it was just trying to piece all that stuff together. And I really didn't have any information for him. Honestly, I'm like, man, I was playing. This happened. I came off stage. Next thing I saw was, trying to get off the bus and get everybody out of there to get them somewhere safe. We didn't know what was happening. I was watching the news on my bus trying to figure out what was going on. So even though I was living it in real time, I was waiting on the news to tell me what was happening because I had no idea.
But did the FBI ever have information for you?
Maybe, but I mean, they never called me about it. I mean, they may have talked to somebody like in my crew, like one of my guys or something, but I never got any information as to like the why or, what the motive was or any of those kind of things.
From anyone?
From anywhere, from anybody.
So that just seems like one of these moments in American history that was a big deal.
Yeah,
Hundreds of
sure.
people shot. If we're going to be honest, most of them Trump voters, and maybe all of them really. And we just sort of blew past it. If you think about all the time the media spend, in this very lurid way, reliving school shootings, and here's the biggest shooting in American history, and it's sort of never talked about again. And there's no even plausible motive. No one offers any motive at all, or any information about Stephen Paddock, who supposedly or apparently did this. What is that?
I don't know. It's weird. And, when you go through something like that, it's, you're kind of trying to figure out, like, man, was I supposed to be the target of this thing? Was this an act of some guy just being evil and just wanting to do damage to just whoever? Like, you don't really know what it is.
Well, exactly.
And so you get home and you're watching going, all right, well, FBI's on this and these guys will figure it out and you'll get some answers. And it's like, it just never happened. And so for a lot of people that went through it, it was wow, that's like, why why did that happen to? Why did he pick our show to do that? You know, but
And you still have no
we
idea.
still have no answers for that. But I will say, man, I'm really proud of my guys. You know, everybody that
You know, like the casino, like they could even have said like he lost a lot of money that day. He went on a rampage. I don't know, but not even authorities were given a reason. They were. 2 years later, I see an article that says he wanted to be like his dad. That's the best they could do.
that went through that, you know, to kind of saddle back up and have to go out and continue a tour. And, you know, it wasn't easy. You know, it wasn't easy to go out and you're playing amphitheaters and it's wide open. And it's just like, man, it's just, it can be a little unnerving sometimes.
Do you think the government was totally straightforward about what happened and why?
I don't know. I just find it odd that they, you know, can solve all these crazy crimes and all this stuff. And here's a guy that committed one of the biggest crimes in our country. And it's like, we got nothing. You know, there's no computer, no, you know, he had a girlfriend or something or whatever it was. And he had sent her to wherever he sent her with some money. And, you know, it's just a weird thing. And I'm like, we never got any sort of anything. I mean, it was just never anything that made you go, oh, okay, I see that.
And how do you get thousands of rounds of rifle ammunition up to a top floor in a casino hotel?
A bunch of suitcases, apparently. I don't know. I mean, I remember that. They had video of him coming in with, you know, big suitcases full of guns. Well, obviously full of guns now, but making multiple trips up the elevator and through the lobby with these big suitcases and getting up to his room. And so, you know, I don't know. I know what everybody else knows, which is,
I just think it's weird.
what we got from the news.
Yeah, NBC News.
Yeah.
And they have nothing.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. Now this is going to be painful because this guy right here, Bob Emery, is a huge fucking addict. And he has serious mental issues. So he's on this podcast here and he adds no value but being a joke.
Were that when that shooting took place, when that fucking psychopath unloaded on all those people at the concert, you were there.
Yeah, I was on the stage, man. It was crazy. I was,
Really?
yeah, so I used to play baseball with Jake Owen, the country singer, and he invited me out to this concert, and I was like, okay, cool, show up, watch him perform, and then went into his trailer for a bit, and he's like, hey, you know, you want to listen to Jason Aldean? I was like, yeah, cool, let's go. So we go up on the stage, and then, I don't know, man, I was like 3 minutes in, it sounded like firecrackers going off, and then they cut the music, and I was like, oh, fuck, that's gunshots. Because I had been downrange, and it's not like a typical gunshot, right? Like, when you're downrange of a bullet, it sounds like a whip crack. It's got, like, a very distinct sound. And so in the military, I'd had bullets going over my head, so I don't know, man, immediately clicked. I was like, oh, fuck, that's gunshots. So we took off.
I don't even
And,
know if that's true.
Yeah,
I don't know if
it
you
was
saw
fucking
combat.
craziness. I ran to this cop car and I was like trying to get this shotgun out. It was like one of those nightmares where you have a gun and you can't like pull the trigger. Well, there was a gun and I had all these keys and I couldn't get it unlocked. And I was like trying.
This is the craziest shit. Dan Blazarian, I don't believe, got in any trouble for this. He tried to get a cop. He went into a cop car because it was chaos. He went into a cop car who I imagine the cops got out of the vehicle and were, I don't know. There was a lot of panic going on everywhere. So he sees a cop car and sees a shotgun in there that's locked in there and he can't get it. He's not saying there's a cop car, but he goes into a cop car and he tries to get a shotgun from the cop car, which I'm sure is very illegal, but in the situation, they let him get away with it.
And every fucking key.
Even
You're trying to get a gun to go back in?
Well, it was just like right out front. So if this was the concert, we ran out the back and the cop car was like literally right there at the gate. And I couldn't get this fucking shotgun out of there to save my life. I actually have a video of the whole thing. It was like 5.5 minutes, my buddy who was a surf photographer, he just started filming, and yeah, it was crazy, dude. Like bullets were literally like hitting right next to us, and people were getting shot. I mean, it was nuts.
Damn, man.
Wow.
That's a lot of stuff, right?
No, it was nuts. I remember the day that guy he went in there for 7 days at Mandalay Bay, right? Did you ever watch what that guy did?
4
You
days,
know,
I
it's
think.
weird, man. They like swept that whole thing under the rug. I feel like I never really got the full story.
He went in there, like, I think, don't quote me on this, but he went, I guess, in and out. He stayed there for a long period of time. And what he'd do is bring suitcases up, and every day he just kept stocking ammo and kept stocking guns in that apartment. And then, or not that apartment, that floor at Mandalay, which I think is no longer. I think they just got rid of the whole entire floor. And then, yeah, I mean, you were there for it. It was some scary shit. Did you aid and assist in any of the people? Was it just it was a madhouse, right?
We took 2 girls to the hospital, and then I went and got a gun and came back. But it was funny because on the way back, I called my police chief and I was like, hey, like, you know, or on the way to the hospital, I called my police chief and I asked him, I was like, hey, like, can I go back? Can I bring a gun? And I don't know why I didn't think of this, but he's like, no. He's like, if you show up there with a gun, he's like, the cops are going to shoot you. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I'm glad I didn't get that shotgun.
Were you a cop at that time still, or no?
Yeah.
You were not anymore.
I was, yeah.
Because they didn't know. No, you didn't know. So when you heard all the pop, 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 and you probably obviously saw people laying there bleeding out or whatnot, you didn't know where the bullets were coming from,
Yeah,
right?
nobody considered a shooter in a hotel. Like, we all thought it was like multiple shooters walking through the fucking place, like mowing people down, like Columbine style. So I don't think anybody even considered the possibility that some guy was in a fucking hotel room. Because I was like out there, you know, after the shoot, you know. So I went and got a gun, came back, and I was doing like some, you know, shit with the first responders, and I heard the cops, like, nobody knew. They were calling out multiple shooters. They didn't know where from. There was like some guy, you know, dead on Las Vegas Boulevard that was like, you know, a mile away. So nobody knew, and they're like storming the Hooters Hotel. And yeah, I don't think until much later people even knew.
Yeah, he ended up killing himself. I think that's what it was. The police all came out there. He killed himself for.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Yeah, when you say it got swept on the rug, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, I have a video of it, and the video that I have, it looks like there's somebody shooting from like the 8th floor. So I don't know. You know,
Well,
it
you think it
sounded
might
like
be like a
multiple
bit of a
gunshots.
conspiracy or like a false flag type shit?
No conspiracy there.
I don't know. I mean, I can show you the video.
No, people died. We obviously know that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
obviously a tragedy, you know. But I'm just asking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like I said, I have a video, and it looked like somebody was shooting from the 8th floor. So
They found the guy. I mean, they went up and the cops raided the Mandalay when they first found him there. It was higher up in the 8th floor, I think. But when they went in the room, he was dead, and all the shit that he had brought up over the course of, because they had surveillance tapes when they went in and they see him in the video. He's bringing 2 bags up, going to his room. He went down to gamble for an hour, then went back to his car, had a car drop off, unloaded more stuff. It was like a long, like planned out,
Operation, yeah, of course.
you know, thing.
I don't know. There's an interview somewhere. And I swear it was Dan Blazarian talking about helicopters. I'm sure it's just going to say conspiracy theories. Gunship helicopters pops up, eh? I'm not logged into a Reddit. Doesn't want to give me anything like that, eh? What's this? Air traffic controller at concert warned airport during Las Vegas shooting. I don't think that's what I want. What's this? Halt jetliners and helicopters. know this is probably real bright. Stewart and her fiance were 75 feet away from the country music festival stage. They were there specifically to watch Jason Aldean. Throughout the night, she watched helicopters whirling to stop at the airport. After flying tourists over the strip in the Grand Canyon, where you're not allowed to go. The couple started looking for fireworks when popping started, then the screams. Okay. But there's an interview of somebody saying people were just getting shot on the top of the head, and I thought it was Dan Blazarian. Okay. I've tried to provide some things. I'm not sure if I missed some things. Except I can't find that video. I think they tried to get Mohammed bin Salman in that hotel. Something went wrong. And Stephen Paddock was a patsy. I don't know. Seems something like that. The other things just don't make any sense. They put this guy in detention, paid a settlement. He was worth like 40 billion at the time. And he's old style. He's a more old-fashioned. Very interesting. This show. Now, this show came out I don't even know if I watched season 2, but I remember season 1. Was 2018. And it was it took place in Toronto, where the filming did. Is it gonna give me a thing? Oh. Ooh, maybe that's not the show I'm thinking about. Damn. This is a good show, but this maybe is not the show I'm thinking about. Or it is, I can't, it's been a long time. Where what's going to happen, unfortunately, is they're going to be able to blackmail anybody, because with AI, they're just going to be able to make it look like you did something. And maybe this is the show, but it's like you wake up, and I don't watch the news, but you wake up and say on the internet, you see you're wanted for murder, and they show a video, and it shows you killing somebody because AI can do that. What are you gonna do? Go on the run? I wonder if this is a show. I guess I could just watch the beginning of the show sometime and see if that was it. Jamal Khashoggi, a victim of Mohammed bin Salman. At the behest of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Wikipedia has. Indiana State University, he went. All these guys go to America. They go to England and they get the Western education. Just like the architect of 9/11, they say. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. This guy, also known by at least 50 pseudonyms, they say. He is a Pakistani terrorist. He is charged and detained, not convicted, with 2,977 deaths. They tortured the shit out of him, so his admission is invalid. His nephew, right? His nephew did the 93 World Trade bombings. Ramzi Youssef, Pakistani convicted terrorist. Yet they had to go into Iraq and Afghanistan. Even though, Osama bin Laden found in Pakistan. Why did they go into Iraq and Afghanistan? Oh yeah, what was I finding? Where you went to school? North Carolina A&T, right? Went to school in the United States, and you know what their excuse is? He hated it in the United States. That's why he did 9/11. Lame excuse. Always just got lame ass excuses. Right here. At age 16, joined the Muslim Brotherhood. And then he went to college in North Carolina. And that's where the second guy that wanted to kill Trump, he went to the same place. Just a joke. They caught him in Pakistan. And see when they caught him in Pakistan? 2003. They caught him in Pakistan in 2003. Fucking 10 years later, they catch Osama bin Laden in Pakistan. Why were they in Iraq? Well, I know why they were in Iraq and Afghanistan. They wanted those poppy fields. Thanks for coming. Hopefully this stays on YouTube. Just theories.